You know that moment when you feel the ground shift under you, not literally, but deep in your gut, like the world's playing a trick you didn't sign up for? That's how it felt the morning I walked out to my vineyard, the sun barely up, my boots crunching on dirt that should have been damp but was dry as ash. My vines me babies, the ones I'd spent 15 years coaxing from nothing, were drooping, their leaves curling like they were begging for mercy, and the irrigation lines, usually humming like a quiet heartbeat, were dead silent. I'm Jake Larson, and this is the story of how my little patch of Eden in Willow Creek got turned into a battlefield not by drought or pests, but by my own neighbors, or at least the suits running our HOA, led by a guy named Victor Slade who thought he could rewrite my life with a pen and a smirk. See, I'd built this vineyard from scratch on a 10-acre plot I bought with my wife, Sarah, back when we were young and stupid enough to think we could make wine better than Napa. After she passed cancer 3 years ago, this place became my anchor, my church, my way of keeping her close. Every trellis, every drip line, every damn grape carried her laugh in it. But the Willow Creek HOA? They didn't care about that. They saw my land as a glitch in their glossy vision of a gated paradise. It started with a padlock. I found it one morning on the valve box connecting my irrigation to the community water line, shiny, new, screaming "You're screwed" in cold steel. Taped nearby was a letter, all official with that HOA logo like it was the seal of God. As of July 10th, irrigation to Lot 19 is suspended for non-compliance with water usage bylaws. No warning, no call, no nothing. Just a lock and a piece of paper telling me my life's work was on timeout. I stood there, heart hammering, trying to make sense of it. Non-compliance? I've been watering on a timer, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., low flow, exactly as the rules allowed. I'd bent over backward for these people, painted my shed their approved shade of sage, paid a $200 fine for a too rustic mailbox, even planted their stupid petunias by the road to keep the peace. And now this? It wasn't a mistake. It was a gut punch. I called the HOA office, got voicemail. Tried again, same thing. Drove to their little headquarters in a strip mall next to a smoothie shop, where the clerk, Tammy, barely looked up from her computer. "Mr. Larson, it's board approved," she said, like she was reading a script. Victor Slade signed off. "You'll need to file a grievance. Next meeting's in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? My vines wouldn't last 3 days. I leaned in, voice low but shaking. "Tammy, this is my livelihood. You're telling me to watch it die while I wait for a calendar slot." She just shrugged, eyes back on her screen. That's the process. By day 4, my vines were screaming, leaves yellowing, grapes shrinking into sad little pebbles. I had a small backup tank, but it was like trying to save a forest fire with a garden hose. That when my neighbor, Rosa, a tough old gal who grew strawberries down the road, pulled me aside at the gas station. "Jake, I heard something at the last HOA meeting," she whispered, glancing around like we were in a spy movie. "Slade's been griping about your place. Says it's not aligned with the community's upscale trajectory. Word is he's got a developer buddy who wants her land for condos." It hit me like a brick. 2 years back, some slick guy from Crestview Realty offered me a fat check to sell way more than the land's worth. I said no, not because of the money, but because this vineyard was Sarah's dream, our dream. Now it clicked. Slade wasn't enforcing rules. He was clearing me out. I went home, dug through every HOA doc I could find, bylaws, meeting notes, emails. Buried in the fine print was a vague clause about excessive water use during drought conditions, but it applied to lawns, not farms. I sent a polite but firm email to the board, attached the clause, and asked for an explanation. Crickets. I called Slade's personal line, left voicemails. Nothing. Meanwhile, my vines were dying, and I was losing it, not just the crop, but that quiet faith you have that people at their core play fair. That's when I decided I wasn't just going to roll over. I started documenting everything: photos of the shriveled grapes, time-stamped irrigation logs, soil tests showing the damage. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it, but I knew one thing. If Slade wanted a fight, he'd get one. Then came the game changer. My daughter, Ellie, who's 26 and works for a craft brewery in Portland, called me one night. "Dad, you told me you're selling half this harvest to Vintner's Pride, right? Big outfit." "Yeah," I said, "a contract for 500 cases of Pinot Noir. If you can't deliver because of the HOA, that's not just your loss," she said, voice sharp. "That's them losing money. You tell them what's happening, they'll come out swinging." I hesitated. Big companies don't care about small guys like me, do they? But Ellie pushed. "Dad, you're not just a grower. You're their partner. Call them." So I did. I wrote an email to Vintner's Pride, laid it all out of lock: the dying vines, Slade's shady moves. I hit send at midnight, expecting nothing. By 7 a.m., I had a reply from Claring Wind, their head of supplier relations. "Mr. Larson, this is unacceptable. Forward all documentation. Our legal team will be in touch." My hands were shaking as I read it. For the first time, I wasn't alone. Clara's team moved fast, called me for a Zoom, asked for every scrap of evidence I had. Their lawyer, a guy named Marcus, was all business. "Jake, this isn't just about your vines. If an HOA can sabotage a contract like this, it's open season on every small grower we work with. We're filing a cease and desist today. If they don't budge, we sue." And sue they did. Vintner's Pride hit the HOA with a lawsuit for tortious interference, utility deprivation, and agricultural sabotage. I was their witness, but they were the muscle. Slade and his board didn't see it coming. They thought they could bury me in fines and silence. But now they were facing a corporate giant with deep pockets and deeper grudges. I got a smug letter from the HOA a week later, $3,000 in fines for landscape neglect and unauthorized irrigation tampering. I laughed, bitter as hell, and forwarded it to Marcus. "They're panicking," he said. "Keep documenting. They're digging their own grave." Then I took a risk. I sent my story to the local paper, the Willow Creek Gazette. Every email, every photo, every lie Slade told. They ran it front page. Local vintner says HOA sabotaged his crop for profit. The town exploded. Neighbors I hadn't talked to in years texted me, some apologizing, some just shocked. Others weren't so kind. Someone slashed my tires, left a note calling me a troublemaker. But the real blow came when Vintner's Pride uncovered an email from Slade to Crestview Realty. "Larson's stubborn, but cut the water and he'll break. We'll have the land by fall." It was a smoking gun, and the paper printed it word for word. The HOA started cracking. One board member, a quiet guy named Tom, quit, saying he didn't sign up for Slade's vendettas. Another, Linda, flipped and offered to testify, handing over texts where Slade bragged about teaching me a lesson. The lawsuit went to court, and I'll never forget standing in that packed room, wearing my old Marine jacket, telling the judge how it felt to watch my vines die, how it felt to lose Sarah all over again. I handed over my report, $90,000 in lost crops, $15,000 in canceled orders, years of soil damage. The judge didn't say much, just nodded, but I saw it in his eyes. He got it. The ruling came a month later. Vintner's Pride won. The HOA had to pay a $200,000 settlement, plus legal fees, and my water was restored that week. Slade resigned, slipped out of town like a ghost. The board collapsed, replaced by a new crew, regular folks, not power-hungry suits. They tore up the old bylaws, made everything transparent, even started a community garden project. My neighbors showed up to help replant Rosa with her shovel, kids from the local AG club rerouting drip lines. Vintner's Pride extended my contract, threw in new vines they called Larson's Grit. I laughed when Clara suggested the name. but it fit. Those vines were tough, like me, like Sarah. Now, when I walk my rows at dawn, the mist curling around the new shoots, I feel her here, in the dirt, in the quiet. We're hosting a harvest festival this fall, nothing fancy, just wine, music, and neighbors who finally get it. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about winning. It was about what happens when you let people like Slade twist rules into weapons, when you let silence fester until it chokes a community. I fought because I had to, because this land isn't just dirt, it's memory, it's love, it's proof you can stand up to a system and make it blink. But what if I hadn't had Vintner's pride? What if I'd been alone? That's what keeps me up at night. How many others are out there, fighting battles no one sees, losing dreams to paperwork and power plays? So, tell me, would you do if your community turned on you? Would you fight, or would you fold? Drop a comment, share your story. Let's talk about what it means to stand your ground when the world wants you to break.